On this edition, I'm going to break down and predict the upcoming fight on the UFC 159 card between Chael Sonnen and Jon Jones. Now, both fighters have been coaching against each other on The Ultimate Fighter. It's been an entertaining season. Been a little disappointed with the lack of trash talk or hype to the fight that's taking place at UFC 159. I think it's more the fact that it's more about coaching than it is about actually getting in each other's faces. There's still time to hype the fight. Obviously, recently, Chael Sonnen came out with his poem for Jon Jones, ripping him apart, doing what Sonnen does best, and really just Sonnen being Sonnen. And I think once the Ultimate Fighter starts to die down or the season comes to an end, that's when I think the actual hype of this fight is going to start to take place, and these two are going to really go at each other. What I'm doing in this video, I'm just going to break down both fighters and do my predictions. So I'll start with Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen possesses a great wrestling foundation. His striking is very much serviceable. He's got quick hands. He's at a huge reach disadvantage in this fight. I believe 74-inch reach to Jon Jones's, 84.5-inch reach. I mean, just huge reach advantage for Jones. But he can mix it up a little bit. Sonnen does have quick hands. He can find ways inside of fighters' strikes and their reach, but I mean, Sonnen's not going to outstrike Jones. I mean, that's not going to happen. I mean, he will connect, but that's not what he will be best at in this fight. What Sonnen does bring to the table is a relentless pace. He's going to come right after you, and he's going to try and put you down to the ground. That's what fighters have not done to Jon Jones. So many fighters, we thought Rashad Evans would try and wrestle Jon Jones. We thought maybe Rampage Jackson would. We thought other fighters would maybe try and grapple, try and mix it up instead of just trying to stand toe-to-toe with Jones. But Jones will dictate where the fight takes place. Jones has an amazing ability of deciding what he wants to do, where he wants the fight to take place. But Chael Sonnen will bring the pressure. He will come and try and take Jones down. He's not going to sit outside of Jones's reach. Chael Sonnen, in practically his entire career, almost every single fight, he has brought the fight to his opponent. And that's what has to be done with Jon Jones, is that you have to put Jon Jones out of his comfort zone. He will have no respect for Jones's game. And that's what fighters have done, is they've respected Jones's talent, they've respected his reach, they've respected everything about it, and it's turned into really just staying on the feet or letting Jones toss you down to the ground. You have to disrespect that game, and you have to shove it right back in his face. And that's what Chael Sonnen will do, or at least will try to do, is that's how he's fought his entire career. So he's going to press forward, use his striking. That's what his striking does do, is that it does offer a good complement to his outstanding wrestling game. So Chael Sonnen will push the pace. He's going to try and get Jon Jones down. And if he can get Jones down, this one will be an interesting and entertaining fight, to say the least. If that does not happen, you know, this could turn into a stand-up battle where Jon Jones will very much pick apart Chael Sonnen. But Sonnen will bring it to him. And that's ultimately what I find to be the most fascinating part of this fight, is that nobody has challenged Jon Jones's wrestling, and Chael Sonnen offers that challenge because he will try to do so. He will do everything humanly possible to make this an entertaining fight, is that he does not like to be in boring fights. That's the intrigue behind this fight. Where I see Chael Sonnen being successful, I think there's no mysteries. I think Chael Sonnen needs to turn this one into a war. He needs to turn this into a wrestling match. He needs to be in Jones's face. He needs to let Jon Jones know he's been in the fight. He cannot take any time off. He really needs to test Jon Jones, especially a guy who is very much battle-tested. So ultimately, I mean, can he finish Jon Jones? I mean, if he is to implement the wrestling and get him down, maybe a TKO. That's a huge reach, but if Chael Sonnen's to do this one, it's going to be a Chael Sonnen fashion. It's going to have to be via unanimous, perhaps maybe a split decision based on what the judges see, but it's got to be decision, maybe a long shot TKO. He will not submit Jon Jones. Do not see that happening. That's where I see Chael Sonnen being successful. He's got to be in his face. He's got to turn this into war. It's got to be a gritty fight. Cannot just turn this stand-up battle, because if he cannot get Jones down, he will get picked apart on his feet. That's just the luxury that Jones has. Sonnen has a huge reach disadvantage in this fight, and there'll be just that disadvantage will come to fruition, or it will show if Sonnen cannot get Jon Jones down. So Jon Jones. Now, Jon Jones' stand-up game, just such an unbelievable arsenal of weapons he has with his 84.5-inch reach, his leg kicks, his elbows. I mean, the striking he has, the flying knees, spinning back fists. He's so dynamic. Everything is possible in that stand-up game. And I'm not here to say he's one of the best strikers in mixed martial arts, but it's just the tools that he has and the way he uses and how smart of a fighter he is. That reach is such a luxury of his, and he uses it so effectively. He has great movement in the octagon, stays away from danger at most times, keeps his hands up, and, you know, I don't want to say it's good head movement, but, I mean, he does a really good job of not getting hit. I mean, that reach is such an advantage for him, and I think he's the more complete fighter in this fight. Just the stand-up in general, he is the better stand-up fighter in this fight than Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen has his box, he can implement his leg kicks, but Jon Jones has every single asset to really match that and then some against Chael Sonnen in the stand game. In regards to the ground game, Jon Jones is a collegiate level wrestler, also Greco-Roman background as well. He can match that of Chael Sonnen, but can he keep this fight standing? I mean, Chael Sonnen can very much dump him down to the ground. So, I know Jones can move away, can stay at a safe distance from fighters by using his striking, maybe using front kicks and knees to make Sonnen really question whether he's going to whether he wants to attempt to take him down now. But Jones has good takedown defense. He also has great takedowns himself. He can toss fighters. I mean, he can do it in a variety of different ways, and his ground and pound is absolutely ferocious. I mean, those elbows he rains down from the top, his ability to use ground and pound, ground control. I mean, it's just those long legs and that body that he has. It's darn near impossible to get Jon Jones off of you if he's on top of you, and he's going to beat you down in the process. He can submit black belts. He's submitted black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and some people say the belts aren't really reflective of what some fighters are capable of doing. Well, I think Jon Jones' submission of Machida, submission of Vitor Belfort, he really wears you down, and he beats you down, he demoralizes you, he dictates where the fight takes place, then he locks you in. I really have been calling the human Venus flytrap. If he locks you in, you're going to be submitted. You're going to be tapping out. You're going to be going to sleep. So that's a huge advantage for him going into this fight as well. And he fights well in the dominant position. We haven't seen Jon Jones on his back. I mean, we really haven't seen him fight off of his back. Can he use his long legs if Chael Sonnen is to take him down? I mean, I think it's a possibility, but we'll just have to see. Where I see Jon Jones being successful in this fight, I mean, I'd really try and keep it standing, ultimately. I mean, if you're going to try and wrestle with Sonnen, he could try and reverse you, and then ultimately it could turn into him implementing the ground and pound. But I would try and keep this one standing. I think if Jones could keep this standing, he could pick apart Sonnen, maybe earn himself a TKO, or try and get close enough to Sonnen and lock in a submission. I mean, really, ultimately, any way it is, I think if he can keep it standing, he can very much TKO Chael Sonnen. If this one does go to the ground, I think he can submit him. But if this one does turn into stand-up battle, Sonnen is a very tough guy. Could go to decision. So that's ultimately where I see Jones being successful. He's got to use his movement. He's got to avoid the takedown from Chael Sonnen, but maybe he will very much try to turn this into a wrestling match to prove that he is one of the best wrestlers in mixed martial arts. Where my prediction lies in this fight, and I mean, I think I've said everything that really needs to be said. It ultimately comes down to, can Chael Sonnen get Jon Jones down to the ground? And I remain optimistic. I really do think Chael has great wrestling. I really do think he can put Jon Jones down on the ground, but can he do it continuously for 5 rounds? We've seen him do it in plenty of fights. We've seen him do it countless times before. Jon Jones is one of those rare breeds, and I really think this one's going to test his wrestling. We're going to really see where Jon Jones' wrestling stands. And this is not questioning it or questioning his skill level, but how does it match against a guy that's actually going to bring it to you? I think it's going to be entertaining. I think Sonnen will make it interesting. I don't think this is going to be a fight that's finished in the first round. I think this one will be entertaining for us, at least however long it goes, or if it is to go the distance. I'm a huge fan of Chael Sonnen. I'd love to pick him in this fight, but I mean, really, if you're looking at the advantages, disadvantage, I mean, Jon Jones has so many more advantages. He has so many more pros going into this fight. There are very few holes in his game, if any. So to be able to pick Chael Sonnen and say that, oh, well, maybe his wrestling will be so much more dominant than Jon Jones, it's a big risk. I'm going to have to go with the favorite in this one. I'm going to have to say that Jon Jones defeats Chael Sonnen on the UFC 159 card via TKO, submission, or decision, or unanimous decision. I mean, that's just, I know it's not pinpointing an exact finish, but I mean, I think Jon Jones will take this one and remain the champion in the light heavyweight division. So that's what I have for this edition. It's Kyle Delaney, signing off.